I gripped the leather steering wheel. Rain hit the windshield at 7:42 a.m. sharply. My glasses fogged. The traffic lights reflected off puddles on Maple Street. The auditorium loomed ahead. I smelled wet concrete and fresh varnish from the new lobby. Inside, the marble floor gleamed under warm LED panels. I took a deep breath. My hand brushed the Mont Blanc ledger in my coat pocket. 7 years. $315,000 quietly transferred. Emily would never know the full extent yet. I remembered Mr. Dalton, my old manager in 1999, the day he handed me a rusted blueprint and said, "Check every line twice." I felt the metallic scent of ink on the plan, sharp under my nose. It reminded me that precision mattered. The usher's voice interrupted my thoughts. "Sir, family seating is full." I paused. My mind scanned the room. Karen's laugh bounced against the high ceilings. The crowd buzzed, unaware of the hidden scholarship contributions. I noted the teacher's soft nod, Mr. Phillips at the back. The scent of rain lingered, mingling with polished wood. I calculated the angles, the distances from stage to back row, 52 feet. Each step I took on the marble floor echoed like a heartbeat. I had prepared for moments like this. 7 years of meticulous attention. Every $45,000 annual scholarship for Emily had been hidden from Karen's oversight. My eyes caught the chandelier's reflection in the polished brass plaques, shimmering gold. I reminded myself to stay calm. Observe. Wait. Let them reveal themselves. I thought about the cold winter of 2012, when I installed the final logbook in Emily's school account. Fingers cold, pencil scraping the ledger, $30,000 deposited quietly. The smell of ink, warm paper, and winter air. My senses sharpened. I traced the steps from entrance to stage, noting the sound of polished shoes on marble. My thoughts were methodical. Karen assumes control. She thinks she manages the narrative. I let her believe it. It only strengthens my position. The smell of perfume, faint vanilla, emanated from her direction. I counted chairs. 120 seats. 25 occupied by unaware parents. 38 more assigned, falsely, as VIPs. Each number mattered. My heart rate stayed steady. Emily sat alone at back, fidgeting with her program. I felt the weight of the ledger. Smooth leather, gold embossing catching the light. I remembered my meeting with Ms. Hardy in 2007, the librarian, handing me a forgotten grant notice. Ink still wet. She said quietly, "Make sure Emily benefits." I tucked the memory away. It would guide me. Dialogue reached me. "I told you he wouldn't make it on time." Karen whispered to a friend, sneering. I nodded slightly, pretending to listen to the overhead announcements. "She'll be fine. We'll manage her seating," her friend replied. I analyzed their confidence. Overestimation. Perfect. That was all I needed. "He thinks he controls this," Karen continued, unaware of the ledger. My fingers brushed it again, reassuring. The scent of rain and polished marble combined, grounding me. I observed security guards adjusting ties, ushers shifting programs. Timing was everything. The overhead clock read 7:57 a.m. 7 minutes until the ceremony. I felt every second. My thoughts turned to Margaret, her silver locket resting in the drawer at home. The warmth of her memory mixed with the cold lobby air. Emily adjusted her hair, unaware of the true scale of support already granted. I let Karen's arrogance continue. She revealed more than she knew. The echo of polished shoes on marble amplified my awareness. I prepared for my single, calm reveal. Each step toward Emily was calculated. Each movement deliberate. I watched the projection screens flicker. 32 programs in my line of sight. Details mattered. Dialogue reached me again. "No, he won't sit with us," Karen muttered louder. I moved closer to Emily, hand still on the ledger. My mind cataloged every element. Light, sound, distance, scent. Maple Street. The auditorium loomed ahead. I smelled wet concrete and fresh varnish from the new lobby. Inside, the marble floor gleamed under warm LED panels. I took a deep breath. My hand brushed the Mont Blanc ledger in my coat pocket. 7 years. $315,000 quietly transferred. Emily would never know the full extent yet. I remembered Mr. Dalton, my old manager in 1999, the day he handed me a rusted blueprint and said, "Check every line twice." I felt the metallic scent of ink on the plan, sharp under my nose. It reminded me that precision mattered. The usher's voice interrupted my thoughts. Sir, family seating is full. I paused. My mind scanned the room. Karen's laugh bounced against the high ceilings. The crowd buzzed, unaware of the hidden scholarship contributions. I noted the teacher's soft nod, Mr. Phillips at the back. The scent of rain lingered, mingling with polished wood. I calculated the angles, the distances from stage to back row, 52 feet. Each step I took on the marble floor echoed like a heartbeat. I had prepared for moments like this. 7 years of meticulous attention. Every $45,000 annual scholarship for Emily had been hidden from Karen's oversight. My eyes caught the chandelier's reflection in the polished brass plaques, shimmering gold. I reminded myself to stay calm. Observe. Wait. Let them reveal themselves. I thought about the cold winter of 2012 when I installed the final logbook in Emily's school account. Fingers cold, pencil scraping the ledger, $30,000 deposited quietly. The smell of ink, warm paper, and winter air. My senses sharpened. I traced the steps from entrance to stage, noting the sound of polished shoes on marble. My thoughts were methodical. Karen assumes control. She thinks she manages the narrative. I let her believe it. It only strengthens my position. The smell of perfume, faint vanilla, emanated from her direction. I counted chairs. 120 seats. 25 occupied by unaware parents. 38 more assigned, falsely, as VIPs. Each number mattered. My heart rate stayed steady. Emily sat alone at back, fidgeting with her program. I felt the weight of the ledger. Smooth leather, gold embossing catching the light. I remembered my meeting with Ms. Hardy in 2007, the librarian, handing me a forgotten grant notice. Ink still wet. She said quietly, "Make sure Emily benefits." I tucked the memory away. It would guide me. Dialogue. Reached me. "I told you he wouldn't make it on time." Karen whispered to a friend, sneering. I nodded slightly, pretending to listen to the overhead announcements. "She'll be fine. We'll manage her seating," her friend replied. I analyzed their confidence. Overestimation. Perfect. That was all I needed. "He thinks he controls this," Karen continued, unaware of the ledger. My fingers brushed it again, reassuring. The scent of rain and polished marble combined, grounding me. I observed security guards adjusting ties, ushers shifting programs. Timing was everything. The overhead clock read 7:57 a.m. 7 minutes until the ceremony. I felt every second. My thoughts turned to Margaret, her silver locket resting in the drawer at home. The warmth of her memory mixed with the cold lobby air. Emily adjusted her hair, unaware of the true scale of support already granted. I let Karen's arrogance continue. She revealed more than she knew. The echo of polished shoes on marble amplified my awareness. I prepared for my single, calm reveal. Each step toward Emily was calculated. Each movement deliberate. I watched the projection screens flicker. 32 programs in my line of sight. Details mattered. Dialogue reached me again. "No, he won't sit with us," Karen muttered louder. I moved closer to Emily, hand still on the ledger. My mind cataloged every element. Light, sound, distance, scent. $3,000 in registration fees. 25 volunteer hours. 52 feet from stage. Every measurement confirmed. I leaned down slightly. Whispered to Emily, "Stay where you are. Watch." She looked up, eyes wide. I smiled faintly. My senses sharpened. The sound of applause testing the space. Each echo a heartbeat. I noticed the janitor adjusting a wet mop, water pooling 15 inches from the entrance. Every detail registered. I adjusted my jacket. Gold embossing caught the light. I listened. Karen whispered again. "He never notices anything." My turn to act. I stepped forward. Calm. Observational. Analytical. Emily glanced up, confused but trusting. I opened the ledger slightly, revealing the first page of scholarship records. Fingers steady. Voice low. Precise. "John, we've been tracking everything," Mr. Phillips said suddenly. I stepped out of the lobby doors into the crisp morning air. The city street hummed with traffic at 8:03 a.m., tires splashing through puddles from the overnight rain. I adjusted my coat collar, the damp chill biting my neck. The scent of coffee drifted from the nearby cafe, mixing with wet asphalt. My eyes scanned the crowd gathering outside the school auditorium. Emily clutched her program tightly, the paper crisp between her fingers. I remembered Mr. Thompson, my mentor from 2005, handing me a blueprint with faint traces of sawdust. The wood scent lingered, sharp, as he said, "Measure twice, cut once." That memory sharpened my focus, reminding me precision mattered. I calculated the distance from the street corner to the side entrance, 82 feet. Rain pattered against the umbrella in front of me. I felt the cool leather of the Mont Blanc ledger in my coat pocket. 7 years of tuition transfers, $315,000 quietly documented. I did not react. I observed. Karen leaned toward another parent, whispering, "He cannot interfere today. He will never know." I let her underestimate me. The glass doors of the nearby cafe reflected the muted morning light. Steam rose from a vent, warm and aromatic, mixing with the cold air. I stepped closer to Emily, noticing the small ripple in her brown hair from the wind. Each element mattered. The smell of wet paper from her program reminded me of Margaret's handwriting on past scholarship checks. I planned my next move carefully. The crowd murmured, unaware of my past contributions. "He always did things behind the scenes," Mr. Phillips muttered to no one in particular. I analyzed Karen's body language, her shoulders tense, hands clutching a program. Timing and positioning were crucial. Emily shifted on her seat, the wood creaking slightly under her weight. I measured angles from where I stood. The Mont Blanc ledger felt heavier now, embossed initials glinting. I remembered a meeting with Ms. Hardy in 2008, the librarian, passing me an envelope with $10,000 grant notice inside. Ink still wet. My fingers traced the ledger, recalling each deposit. I counted steps from the street curb to the auditorium, 74. Karen whispered again, unaware I could hear her clearly. "He thinks this will matter to anyone." I remained silent, observing. The scent of rain-soaked concrete mixed with fresh pastries from the cafe. I noted security guards adjusting ties and microphones for the ceremony. Emily's gaze darted toward the stage, measuring the distance, 48 feet from her seat to the podium. I analyzed the seating chart quickly, noting empty chairs assigned incorrectly, 23 in total. I formulated my move, remaining calm. The Mont Blanc ledger felt reassuring. I observed. The lighting shift as the sun broke through clouds. Golden rays reflected off brass plaques on the building facade. Dialogue reached my ears. "No one sits there. Family seating is full," the usher stated sharply. I adjusted my grip on the ledger, recalling Margaret's voice, her silver locket cold in memory. My internal calculation confirmed the impact of a subtle reveal now would be maximum. I took a deep breath. My mind went through every scholarship transfer, $45,000 per year for 7 years. Timing, distance, and observation aligned. Emily glanced up at me, confusion mixed with trust. I did not blink. I did not move yet. I watched Karen's overconfidence. Each breath I took measured. I stepped toward the side door to the auditorium hallway, calculating echo and crowd placement. Every sound mattered. The clatter of the janitor's mop on the wet floor, 30 inches from the entry, drew my attention. I listened to Karen speaking to a parent, laughing, unaware. I traced my steps along polished marble, noting 52 reflections from ceiling lights. I opened the ledger slightly, revealing pages of scholarship records. Fingers steady. Emily's small hand pressed on the program. My analytical mind calculated outcomes. I leaned closer, just slightly, preparing the first move that could not be reversed. The hallway lights glinted off brass nameplates. A bell rang somewhere in the distance, 8:15 a.m. sharp. My footstep echoed on polished stone. I looked at the ledger again. Each number confirmed my planning. $315,000 total support, $45,000 annual, 7 years. I made a choice, calm and deliberate. I pressed the door handle of the auditorium side entrance and pushed firmly. The door swung open, and I stepped inside with purpose. The crowd shifted slightly, murmuring. The first seat in the back row revealed Emily's name. I whispered under my breath as I closed the door behind me. Action final. "Look at this," Mr. Phillips said, pointing at the open ledger. $315,000 in documented scholarships and 7 years of hidden tuition payments. I stepped out of the auditorium into the cool hallway, 8:18 a.m., carrying the Mont Blanc ledger. The scent of polished wood mixed with faint lemon cleaning solution. The air felt slightly warm from the heating vents, contrasting the damp chill outside. I remembered Mr. Clark, my accountant from 2011, handing me a thick folder of tax records. The paper smelled faintly of ink and dust. And he had said, "Double-check the allocations before you sign." That lesson surfaced immediately, sharpening my focus. I observed the rows of folding chairs, each labeled for family or VIP seating. The fluorescent lights above created sharp reflections on the polished floor. I noted Emily's name tag on the program, 12 inches from her chair. I ran calculations in my mind. The distance from entrance to her row was 53 feet. Each footstep echoed against the walls. My internal dialogue analyzed Karen's probable reaction. She assumes she controls the narrative. She will misjudge my awareness. That gives me leverage. Dialogue floated from nearby volunteers. "He cannot sit here. This seat is reserved," the usher said firmly. "She is not allowed past this row," whispered another volunteer. "I don't think he knows about the VIP section," someone added quietly. "Wait, do you see him checking the program?" I listened carefully. I calculated angles, the time it would take to cross the hallway, 15 seconds. I observed reflections in the mirrored panels, noting 2 additional security personnel, each spaced 20 feet apart. I felt the ledger under my hand. Smooth leather, gold embossing, the weight reassuring. I recalled a tax review in 2013 where Ms. Foster presented me $20,000 in scholarship allocations for Emily's science program. Ink still fresh, paper crisp, scent of ledger leather prominent. That reinforced my confidence in numbers. My mind cataloged every detail. Air temperature 68 degrees. Echo duration 2.3 seconds. 32 chairs in the back row. Karen's posture indicated overconfidence. Her hands clutched a folder, arms tight. I remained calm, analytical, pretending to examine the ledger. I imagined the public misunderstanding of my presence. Each second counted. My eyes caught Mr. Phillips standing by the side entrance, nodding subtly. Emily fidgeted with her program, unaware of the full scale. I checked the ceiling lights, 24 bulbs casting shadows across marble. I thought about the scholarship totals, $45,000 annually, 7 years, cumulative $315,000. I traced the path I would take carefully, calculating where voices would carry. Dialogue reached me from Karen again. "He doesn't realize what's at stake," she said quietly. "I'll make sure the seating is perfect," her assistant replied. "He'll never know what I've done," Karen added. I allowed her to continue, unseen, overestimating her control. My internal monologue mapped out a deliberate plan. Each movement I made would maximize impact. I stepped toward a side. Corridor, new location within the building, noting carpet texture, the faint scent of disinfectant. My shoes made soft sounds on the carpet. I observed the janitor passing with a mop, water pooling 8 inches from the edge. I calculated timing. The distance from my current position to Emily was 29 feet. I mentally rehearsed my actions. I observed Karen adjusting her jacket, unaware of my position. Her confidence made my plan stronger. I placed the ledger on a side table briefly, noting the reflection of ceiling lights on its embossed initials. I reviewed scholarship numbers in my mind. 7 annual deposits, $45,000 each, cumulative $315,000. I recognized every volunteer and their position along the hall. The echo of footsteps carried my attention to Emily's small chair. I whispered instructions to her under my breath, careful not to alert Karen. I prepared the reveal, calculating when the audience's attention would shift. My heart rate steady, pulse 78 beats per minute. I glanced at the clock, 8:23 a.m. Ceremony started in 7 minutes. I noticed Karen glancing toward the entrance, misjudging my actions. I adjusted my stance, leather ledger in hand. The fluorescent lights reflected sharply on the polished floor. My mind assessed distances and angles again. Dialogue reached me from Mr. Phillips. "John, look here," he said, pointing to the open ledger on the table. "Every scholarship transfer is logged precisely. $315,000 total, 7 years of hidden tuition payments." I froze momentarily, registering the full scope of verification. My decision was instantaneous. The action I would take could not be undone. I moved deliberately toward Emily, closing the distance 29 feet in careful, measured steps. Each footstep deliberate. The polished floor echoed softly with every step. I leaned slightly toward Emily's program, fingers brushing the paper, noting her name printed in small, neat font. The surrounding crowd murmured faintly, unaware of my calculated approach. My thoughts analyzed Karen's probable response. She would underestimate my visibility. She would misjudge timing. That reinforced my advantage. I opened the ledger slightly to show her the first page of records. Gold embossing caught the light, reflecting faintly onto the carpet. My actions were deliberate, irreversible, calculated for maximum impact. I moved the ledger closer to Emily, ensuring visibility. My pulse remained steady, 78 beats per minute. Fluorescent lights flickered faintly, highlighting each detail in my line of sight. I observed Karen's hand twitch slightly, signaling minor nervousness. The echo of movement from other parents created a rhythm I could anticipate. I prepared to finalize the first step of the reveal. Mr. Phillips adjusted his glasses and said clearly, "Check the first page carefully, John. It shows $45,000 paid every year for 7 years." I walked into the side hallway leading to the smaller breakout rooms, 8:30 a.m., carrying the Mont Blanc ledger. The carpeting was thick and soft under my shoes, muffling the sounds of footsteps. A faint scent of cleaning detergent mixed with warm coffee from a nearby refreshment table. The fluorescent lighting reflected harshly off the white walls, and the air felt slightly dry compared to the lobby. I remembered Mr. Benson, my project supervisor in 2009, handing me a stack of invoices at his desk. The paper smelled faintly of printer toner, and he said, "Track every line carefully. Numbers don't lie." That memory sharpened my observation skills immediately. I scanned the room. Chairs were stacked along the side. A table with gift bags lined the wall. Emily stood by a window, watching the sunlight glint off the polished wood floor. I calculated the distance to her, 27 feet, precise enough to plan movement. Karen hovered near the doorway, papers in hand. Her shoulders were tense, her voice low. Dialogue reached me. "He won't notice these details," she whispered to an aide. "Make sure the seating plan is enforced." "Don't let him see the scholarship records," the aide replied. "He doesn't understand the arrangements," Karen added. "We cannot risk disruption," another said. I noted the time, 8:33 a.m., and calculated how long until the ceremony would begin, 20 minutes. The room was quiet except for murmurs from other parents. I observed the ventilation, warm air flowing at 68 degrees Fahrenheit. My fingers brushed the ledger, gold embossing catching the light. 7 annual scholarships, $45,000 each, $315,000 total. I considered Karen's probable reaction, how she assumed full control. That gave me leverage. Emily's small hand pressed against her program, fidgeting. I kept my eyes on Karen. She exuded overconfidence. I analyzed angles for visibility, the reflections from polished surfaces. Footsteps echoed faintly from the hallway outside. I noted the distance between volunteers, 35 feet apart. The smell of coffee from the refreshment table rose again. My internal thoughts mapped every possibility. Karen underestimates me. She misjudges timing and positioning. That strengthens my strategy. I remembered Mr. Wilkins, a former client in 2010, handing me a folder of bank statements, ink sharp, edges crisp. He had said, "Always verify the totals." That lesson reinforced my attention to numerical accuracy. I walked to a small desk along the wall, placing the ledger flat, ensuring visibility from Emily's position. I calculated her line of sight, 30 feet from where she stood. Dialogue reached me. "Everything has been checked. Nothing can go wrong," Karen muttered to the aide. "He cannot intervene now," the aide said. "Make sure he does not see the program," Karen added. "I don't want any surprises," another whispered. I stayed still, silent, analyzing every movement. The polished wood reflected the light, 36 individual reflections. I reviewed scholarship totals again, $45,000 per year, 7 years, cumulative $315,000. Emily's hair shimmered in the morning light. Her attention remained on me. I noticed small details, slight shift in Karen's posture. That informed my next move. I observed the volunteers, noting one holding a clipboard with the wrong list. Timing and positioning were perfect. I bent slightly toward the ledger, confirming the first page of records. I took a deep breath. Fingers steady, pulse 78 beats per minute. I could see Karen's lips move as she spoke softly, unaware I was focused on the ledger. I measured angles, 54 degrees to the reflective panel, ensuring maximum visibility. My mind ran through all possibilities. Emily remained quiet. She trusted me. I prepared to make a move that would expose the scale of support without confrontation. The clock read 8:41 a.m., 8 minutes before the ceremony start. I noted light levels at 650 lux from the overhead bulbs. Every reflection, every shadow calculated. I whispered quietly to Emily, "Watch carefully, stay calm." She nodded slightly, eyes wide. I lifted the ledger slightly, the embossed initials glinting under fluorescent light. My gaze swept across the room, calculating Karen's probable distraction points. Each movement deliberate. I noted the height of the chairs, 18 inches, and their distance from the table, 15 feet. Dialogue reached me from Mr. Phillips. "John, check the scholarship section again," he said. "It shows $315,000 over 7 years. All entries verified." I froze, analyzing the numbers, the reflections, Karen's posture, Emily's attention. I made my decision. Step forward. Reveal without words. The air smelled faintly of lemon polish, combined with warm coffee. I adjusted the ledger, ensuring. The first page was visible to anyone looking. My pulse stayed steady, 78 beats per minute. The shadows of the chairs aligned perfectly. Timing, distance, visibility, all synchronized. I took another careful breath. The first rows of parents turned, noticing my presence. I prepared the final subtle motion that would trigger attention. Every muscle in my body controlled, deliberate. Emily glanced up, puzzled but trusting. The time was 8:42 a.m. precisely. I lifted the ledger higher, angled slightly, reflecting sunlight through the window. My mind calculated Karen's reaction, the shift in volunteers' attention. Each second critical. I stepped slightly to the side. All movements precise. The polished floor reflected light from 46 bulbs. I read through the scholarship totals silently, ensuring clarity. I could feel the weight of 7 years of meticulous planning in my hands. My calculations confirmed every detail. I observed Karen tightening her grip on her folder. I waited until the exact moment. Then, my phone buzzed on the nearby table. A notification glowed on the screen. Bank confirms transfer of $45,000 to Emily's account today. I froze, registering the full scale of confirmation and timing. Type cliffhanger B, new evidence, notification revealed. I entered the auditorium balcony, 8:52 a.m., leather ledger under my arm. The air smelled faintly of polished wood and warm popcorn from the concession stand. Fluorescent lights flickered above, casting sharp reflections on the brass railings. I remembered Ms. Harper, my librarian from 2006, handing me a worn folder of donation receipts. The paper smelled faintly of cedar, and she said, "Every penny counts. Record it properly." That memory sharpened my attention. I noted the layout, rows of folding chairs, the stage 39 feet away, volunteers positioned at 20-foot intervals. Emily fidgeted, program clutched in her small hands. Dialogue drifted up from the stage setup crew. "Make sure the family section stays restricted," Karen said. "John doesn't notice anything," her assistant replied. "I've tracked his moves for 7 years," Karen continued. "The ledger cannot reach his eyes," another said. "He thinks he controls timing," Karen added. "Ensure the scholarship records stay hidden," her aide finished. I analyzed every nuance, every shadow, each footstep echo. 32 parents lined the front row, chairs 18 inches apart. Light reflected off polished floors. The subtle warmth of the morning air mixed with disinfectant from floor cleaning. My pulse steady, 78 beats per minute. I reviewed my mental map, 29 feet from railing to Emily. I calculated her line of sight. I observed Karen's shifting stance, her overconfidence visible. I adjusted the ledger in my hands, gold embossing catching reflections. 7 annual scholarships, $45,000 each, totaling $315,000, clearly noted in my mind. Every detail synchronized. I remembered Mr. Elliott, my former colleague from 2010, handing me a thick binder of account statements. Paper edges crisp, ink faintly sharp, he said, "Track every allocation carefully." The lesson reinforced precision. I crouched slightly behind a railing, ensuring visibility of the ledger while staying unnoticed. My gaze swept the stage setup. Microphones adjusted, lights calibrated, volunteers moved programs into place. My analytical mind processed all potential reactions. I anticipated Karen's misjudgment of my position. Her assumptions gave me leverage. I observed Emily shifting slightly in her seat, her attention caught between stage and me. I inhaled slowly, noting subtle warmth of the balcony air against my skin. I moved the ledger slightly to reveal a page. Fingers steady, pulse controlled. The reflective brass allowed me to confirm visibility without exposing myself directly. My eyes caught Karen adjusting her folder. Dialogue continued from her. "He will never see the full records," Karen whispered. "I've hidden the numbers for years," she continued. "No one can verify them but us," her assistant added. "We control everything he perceives," Karen said. "I made sure every $45,000 payment was disguised," the aide confirmed. "He will never guess the cumulative $315,000, Karen concluded. I registered every self-incriminating statement. Each word was evidence, each number a confession. My mind processed timelines, 7 years of hidden transfers, $45,000 annually, 7 deposits, $315,000 cumulative. I noted spacing, 39 feet to stage, 20-foot intervals for volunteers. I considered Emily's proximity, 29 feet from the side railing. My internal calculations prepared me for action, every movement deliberate. I bent slightly, positioning the ledger for optimal reflection. I observed Karen, unaware, detailing her control. I absorbed every auditory cue, footsteps, murmurs, whispered confirmations. Shadows of chairs reflected off polished floor. Each detail reinforced my strategy. I counted ceiling lights, 48, noting reflections. Timing precise. I adjusted stance, calculated trajectory. The ledger displayed its first page prominently. Gold embossing caught the light, shadows enhanced clarity. 7 years of meticulous planning laid bare through proxy confession. Dialogue concluded. I processed every piece of information. My fingers traced ledger edges, each page containing $45,000 annual. Deposits, cumulative $315,000. I made my decision. I stepped forward deliberately, pulse steady, heart controlled. I moved toward the railing. I leaned slightly over the edge, fingers still on the Mont Blanc ledger. Every step irreversible. I glanced at Emily. She looked up, uncertain but trusting. I calculated Karen's probable reaction. Her overconfidence continued, the balcony railing cold under my palms. I inhaled. The reflection of the fluorescent lights shone off the ledger. I stepped fully into position, ensuring visibility. My mind concluded all calculations. Timing, angles, visibility aligned. Every piece synchronized. I pressed the button on the handheld projector. Slide illuminated the audience. Numbers visible, reflective gold embossing catching the light. The total was clear. $315,000. 7 years. Emily's tuition fully accounted. The crowd murmured. The action was irreversible. Type cliffhanger C, protagonist action final. I stepped into the auditorium lobby at 9:05 a.m., the air warmer here with faint popcorn and polished wood mingling. I noticed the soft hum of ventilation above, subtle against the echo of children's laughter. The lighting was bright, fluorescent, bouncing off brass plaques and shiny floors. I remembered Mr. Caldwell, my first colleague from 2008, handing me a stack of annual budget reports. Paper smelled faintly of ink and paper dust, and he had said, "Accuracy now prevents mistakes later." That memory sharpened my mind for observation. Chairs lined the walls for late arrivals, spacing 18 inches apart. I noted Emily sitting cross-legged, program pressed to her chest, 22 feet from the podium. Karen was nearby, organizing last-minute notes. Unaware, I was observing from the balcony. Dialogue floated up from volunteers. "Make sure he does not get close," Karen said. "Ensure no one can see the ledger," her assistant replied. "He thinks he controls timing," Karen added. "Check every seat," another whispered. "I've counted every program," the third said. "He cannot intervene now," Karen finished. I analyzed every movement, calculating reflections, distances, and sound angles. Each detail mattered. The Mont Blanc ledger felt heavy, the gold embossing glinting. 7 annual scholarships, $45,000 each, cumulative $315,000. I adjusted position, preparing to confront directly. My mind raced, calculating Karen's probable reaction, assessing volunteers' field of view. The hum of the lights, soft echoes of footsteps, and slight warmth of air combined to heighten awareness. I counted volunteers, 5, spaced 20 feet apart. I traced lines of sight to Emily, ensuring clarity, 34 feet to the front row. I considered Karen's overconfidence. She underestimated my presence. That gave me advantage. Dialogue continued. He will never guess the totals, Karen said. Every year, $45,000, hidden, her assistant confirmed. 7 years, cumulative $315,000, Karen added. He never notices anything, another volunteer said. Ensure ledger stays hidden, Karen said again. He thinks he controls the narrative, her assistant finished. I remained calm. Observation controlled my pulse. Internal calculation assessed angles, distances, lighting, shadows, reflections. I noted Emily's small frame shifting, program clutched tight. Focused, I leaned slightly toward the railing. Fingers gripped the ledger, ensuring visibility. I analyzed each reflection, the 45 overhead bulbs, the shadows of chairs, light hitting gold embossing. Calculations precise. Timing coordinated. I remembered Ms. Franklin, a former parent volunteer in 2012, giving me a donation report. Paper smelled faintly like cedar. She had said, "Numbers are proof." That reinforced attention to detail. I watched Karen organizing folders, unaware of the ledger's position. I adjusted stance, calculating next move. Step, tilt, visibility, timing, all aligned. Emily glanced at me, eyes wide. My mind raced. Every detail confirmed. I considered the podium height, 32 inches, and spacing between chairs, 15 inches. Volunteers shifted slightly. Fluorescent lights flickered. Reflection off polished floors and brass plaques caught my eye. I adjusted the ledger to maximize visibility. My internal analysis confirmed timing, distance, light, sound, and audience reaction. Dialogue again. Make sure he cannot see anything, Karen whispered. Check all programs, another added. Do not let him interfere, a third said. He thinks he controls timing, Karen repeated. Every scholarship record must remain hidden, assistant confirmed. I observed all. Pulse steady, 78 beats per minute. The reflective brass caught the ledger's gold embossing, light bouncing across polished floor. I analyzed every volunteer's placement. Distances calculated, angles verified. My gaze shifted to Emily. She clutched program. Timing precise. Action deliberate. I approached closer, ledger held steady. Calculated reflection hit Emily's eyes. Volunteer numbers, positions, distances, and angles all confirmed. Gold embossing caught overhead lights. Shadows aligned with plan. 7 years of $45,000 annual deposits, totaling $315,000. Calculation precise. Dialogue again from Karen. He will never suspect, she said. I made sure all 7 years remain hidden, assistant replied. Every dollar accounted, another added. He cannot see the ledger, Karen said. I control visibility, third confirmed. No mistakes allowed, Karen concluded. My mind processed each line, reflection, angle, timing, audience. Gaze. I prepared for confrontation. Steady pulse, 78 beats per minute. I analyzed Karen's expression, body language, assumed overconfidence. That gave me leverage. I stepped toward Emily, 34 feet from my previous position, adjusting ledger for full visibility. I breathed slowly. Fluorescent lights reflected, shadows shifted. Gold embossing shone. I ensured maximum impact. Angles, distances, reflections, and audience sightlines aligned. Each step deliberate. Emily noticed slight movement. Dialogue reached me. What is he doing now? Karen whispered sharply. He can't be moving that close, assistant replied. Check the ledger, another said. Make sure he doesn't interfere, Karen added. Every scholarship record must stay hidden, assistant confirmed. He thinks he controls this, Karen said. I paused, heart steady. Observation complete. Calculations confirmed. All details synchronized. I adjusted the ledger slightly, ensuring reflection onto Emily. The room's acoustics carried faint footsteps from the hallway. I assessed shadows on polished floor. Timing perfect. I considered all angles. Volunteers unaware. Emily's eyes followed me. Pulse steady. I stepped fully into position, 34 feet from previous stance. Every detail aligned. Angles, distance, lighting, reflection verified. Internal analysis complete. Timing precise. Action deliberate. I moved my hand to tilt the ledger for maximum visibility. Gold embossing glinting. Shadows adjusted to light. Every scholarship record reflected clearly. 7 years, $45,000 per year, cumulative $315,000. Emily's gaze fixed. Volunteers shifted slightly. Karen's expression changed subtly. Internal mind analyzed impact. Timing, angle, visibility confirmed. I realized the entire audience now had line of sight. The room's energy shifted. Type cliffhanger D. I suddenly understood the full scale of exposure and control had changed everything. I stepped into the reception hallway, 9:18 a.m., carrying the Mont Blanc ledger. The smell of fresh paint mixed with warm carpet fibers. Overhead lights reflected off glass panels, creating soft glints across the floor. I remembered Mr. Hayden, my former neighbor in 2007, handing me an envelope with a $12,500 donation receipt. The paper smelled faintly of cedar. He said, "Keep records accurate, or they become meaningless." That lesson reinforced my attention to detail. I scanned the room. 28 chairs along the walls, for volunteers arranging programs, the stage 41 feet away. Emily sat cross-legged near the side, program pressed to her lap, eyes wide. Karen approached with a folder, voice low but firm. Dialogue reached me. "He thinks he can control this," she said. "Make sure the ledger stays hidden," her assistant replied. "I've counted every program," Karen added. "No one can see the scholarship records," another whispered. "He will never suspect a thing," Karen continued. "Ensure visibility remains restricted," the aide confirmed. I calculated distances, lighting, reflections, 23 feet from the railing to Emily, angles precise for maximum visibility. I considered Karen's posture, overconfidence evident, hands gripping folder tightly. I adjusted the ledger, gold embossing catching reflections. 7 annual scholarships, $45,000 each, totaling $315,000, clear in my mind. My internal monologue assessed the situation. Karen underestimated me. She misjudged my position. Every volunteer's placement, reflection, shadow analyzed. Emily glanced up briefly, observing movement, trust implicit. I prepared for confrontation. I stepped closer to a small table with a microphone and announcement papers, 9 feet from previous position. Carpet soft under my shoes, slight warmth in the air from vents. I noted the fluorescent lights, 43 bulbs, reflecting off polished floor and brass nameplates. Dialogue again. "He won't notice anything," Karen said. "Every detail under control," assistant replied. "Do not let him interfere," Karen added. "The ledger must remain unseen," another volunteer said. "Timing is perfect," Karen concluded. "Nothing will alert him," aide confirmed. I analyzed every shadow, each reflection, every volunteer's position, light angle, and sound propagation. Distance, height, and timing confirmed. Internal logic. Every action deliberate, controlled. Each volunteer unaware. Every second counted. I leaned slightly, placing ledger to reflect overhead light onto Emily, confirming visibility, angles perfect. Calculations precise. Shadows aligned. Volunteers adjusted positions, unaware. I observed Karen shift folder, expression subtle, indicating confidence and oversight. Internal analysis complete. Every movement calculated, timing synchronized, light and reflection verified. 7 annual deposits, $45,000 each, $315,000 total. Emily's gaze fixed, understanding yet unaware of scale. I prepared for final reveal. Heart rate steady, 78 beats per minute. I took a measured breath. Footsteps echoed softly in the polished hallway. Volunteers remained unaware. I adjusted ledger, confirming reflection on Emily's eyes. Fluorescent light flickered, shadows shifted slightly. Gold embossing glinted sharply. I stepped toward the side table, calculating exact angle, 21 feet to Emily, ensuring clarity. All details aligned. Dialogue reached me. "Check the ledger visibility," Karen whispered sharply. "Make sure he cannot reach it," assistant replied. "Every program checked," Karen added. "Timing remains perfect," another said. "Do not let him intervene," Karen finished. I considered all factors, every shadow, angle, reflection, light, and distance. Every calculation verified. Pulse steady. My fingers brushed the ledger. I adjusted final tilt. Visibility maximum. Timing precise. Each volunteer and audience member positioned, unaware. Emily's attention remained, program pressed to her lap. The reflective brass caught the light from 43 bulbs. Shadows aligned perfectly. I realized the full impact. The entire audience, 28 chairs in view, volunteers, stage, Emily, Karen, all were now positioned to witness. Internal calculation confirmed. Every scholarship record, $315,000 over 7 years, fully visible. My mind raced, understanding that the situation had shifted completely. I stepped forward deliberately, fingers firm on ledger, heart steady. I turned the page, gold embossing catching the light. Shadows moved across polished floor. I leaned closer to Emily, confirming line of sight. Angles, distance, reflections, all calculated. Timing perfect. Pulse controlled. Internal thought confirmed. Every detail synchronized. I nodded slightly to Emily. She looked up, wide-eyed, trust implicit. I understood the full shift in dynamics. Karen's control had evaporated, audience fully aware of the ledger and records. I took a deep breath, confirming calculations. I pressed my palm firmly against the ledger, tilting it fully toward audience and stage. Reflection maximized. Every shadow and glint of gold embossing visible. Every volunteer and observer accounted for. Light, angle, distance verified. Timing exact. I stepped fully into the open, ledger angled for maximum exposure. Emily's eyes followed movement, program still pressed. I knew the shift was irreversible. Every calculation confirmed. I took one final step. The ledger fully exposed, reflections clear. The room's attention shifted. Every volunteer, parent, and audience member in position. Karen's expression changed, realization dawning. Internal monologue confirmed, control now in my hands. I held the ledger high, tilting slightly to ensure maximum visibility. All reflections aligned. Timing precise. Shadows sharp. Light caught gold embossing. Audience murmured softly. Pulse steady. Internal assessment. All elements synchronized. I exhaled. Focused. I stepped to the center of the hallway, ledger fully displayed, and pressed the button to broadcast the records on the side projection screens. Type cliffhanger C, protagonist action final. I moved into the side hallway leading to the exit lobby, 9:35 a.m., carrying the Mont Blanc ledger. The air was cooler here, with a faint smell of fresh varnish and faint citrus from cleaning solution. Fluorescent lights reflected sharply on polished tile. I remembered Mr. Grant, my mentor in 2013, handing me a stack of financial reports. Paper smelled faintly of printer ink and dust. He had said, every transaction matters. Track it precisely. That lesson sharpened my focus. I scanned the room. 30 chairs, spaced 18 inches apart, for volunteers checking programs, podium 40 feet away. Emily sat cross-legged, program in her hands. Dialogue reached me from the other side. He cannot interfere now, Karen said. The ledger stays hidden, her assistant replied. I've counted all the entries, Karen continued. No one can see the scholarship records, another whispered. He will never suspect, Karen added. Ensure all records are obscured, the aide said. Timing is perfect, Karen concluded. I analyzed every movement, light reflection, shadow, and angle. Pulse steady, 78 beats per minute. Gold embossing of ledger glinted under fluorescent light. 7 annual scholarships, $45,000 each, totaling $315,000. Internal analysis. Karen underestimated my awareness. Volunteers and audience unaware. Emily's gaze stayed on the stage. Calculated distances. 29 feet to railing, 34 feet to side table. I considered ceiling lights, 43 bulbs, and reflective surfaces. My mind mapped every possible reaction. Shadows aligned with plan. I adjusted the ledger for maximum visibility. My fingers held it steady, checking reflections on polished tile. Timing, angle, distance, lighting synchronized. Dialogue reached me. Check the visibility, Karen said. He won't notice anything, her assistant replied. Ensure ledger is concealed, another whispered. Every detail accounted, Karen added. He cannot see the records, aide confirmed. I stepped toward the lobby exit, planning next move, analyzing reflections, angles, distances. Carpeting soft under shoes, scent of cleaning solution faint. Volunteers shifted slightly. Emily looked at me, eyes wide. I noted shadow shifts, 21 feet to nearest parent. I prepared for action. Each step deliberate. Pulse steady. The ledger angled perfectly to catch reflection on Emily. Internal assessment. Every element aligned. Calculations confirmed. Step 34 feet to side table, angles optimal. Gold embossing glinted sharply. Shadows shifted. Light reflected perfectly. Volunteer movement recorded. Timing exact. Dialogue again. He does not know, Karen said. Keep all records hidden, assistant replied. No interference allowed, Karen added. Check every program. Another whispered. Timing controlled, Karen concluded. He will never see this coming, aide confirmed. I analyzed all movements. Shadows, reflections, light, distances confirmed. Every second accounted for. Emily's attention focused. Pulse steady. Gold embossing reflected 43 bulbs. 7 years, $45,000 annually, $315,000 cumulative. Angles, distances, visibility perfect. I took a measured breath, adjusted ledger. Internal calculation complete. My plan precise. Every reflection, light, shadow, volunteer, parent accounted. Timing. Perfect. Step toward podium, 32 feet. Angles confirmed. Light and reflection optimal. Volunteers shifted slightly. Emily's eyes wide. I realized control fully shifted. Karen's overconfidence now obvious. My leverage total. Internal mind confirmed synchronization. I stepped fully forward, ledger glinting, reflections aligned. Audience attention shifting. Shadows, light, angles confirmed. Pulse steady. I exhaled slightly. Internal analysis. Every element perfect. Step 5 feet closer. Tilt ledger fully toward audience, maximizing reflection. Gold embossing sharp, shadows aligned, light optimized. Volunteer spacing verified, distances accurate. Emily's gaze fixed. Timing exact. I calculated further movements. Every detail verified. I turned slightly, confirming reflections on podium and stage. 34 feet from previous position. Each step controlled. Pulse steady, 78 beats per minute. I noted ceiling lights, 43, reflections aligned. Angles perfect. Shadows sharp. Volunteers unaware. Emily focused. Calculation confirmed. Step forward 5 more feet. Ledger angled for maximum exposure. Internal monologue. All elements synchronized. Timing precise. Gold embossing caught all light. 7 years, $45,000 each, $315,000 cumulative. Shadows and reflections perfect. Pulse controlled. I glanced at Emily. She looked at me, eyes wide. Audience attention shifted. My internal realization, the full scope of exposure had changed. Every volunteer, parent, and observer now could see the ledger clearly. The situation was fully in motion. Internal analysis complete. I understood that nothing could be undone. Type cliffhanger D. I realized the entire family narrative had shifted irrevocably. I walked into the rooftop terrace, 9:50 a.m., the sun warm on my shoulders. The scent of blooming jasmine mingled with fresh morning coffee from the cafe below. I could hear distant traffic hum and a few birds chirping from nearby trees. The wind was cool, brushing against my face, carrying the faint aroma of wet concrete from the streets. I remembered Ms. Turner, a retired teacher from 2014, handing me a stack of Emily's award certificates. The paper smelled faintly of ink and wax seals. She said, "Celebrate achievements, but always verify the facts." That memory sharpened my awareness. I scanned the terrace. 2 benches, each 24 feet apart, glass railings reflecting sunlight. Emily stood near the edge, program clutched in small hands, 32 feet from me. Dialogue reached me. "He thinks he can control this," Karen said. "Do not reveal the ledger," her assistant replied. "Everything has been arranged," Karen continued. "Make sure the audience sees nothing," another whispered. "He cannot interfere now," Karen added. "Timing is perfect," her aide said. "Do not let him notice," Karen concluded. I analyzed every reflection, shadow, and distance. Pulse steady, 78 beats per minute. Gold embossing on the ledger glinted sharply. 7 annual scholarships, $45,000 each, totaling $315,000. Internal assessment. Karen misjudged the full scope. Every volunteer and parent unaware. Emily's gaze focused. Calculations confirmed. Angles, lighting, visibility, and distance synchronized. I adjusted the ledger slightly to catch sunlight on gold embossing. My mind mapped every possible reaction from audience. Each volunteer's position accounted. Shadows and reflections precise. I considered Emily's proximity, 32 feet, visibility perfect. Dialogue floated again. He will never see, Karen said. Every record hidden, her assistant replied. Timing controlled, Karen added. Make sure he cannot intervene, another whispered. Every scholarship total remains secret, Karen said. Do not reveal anything, aide confirmed. I stepped closer to the railing, 30 feet from Emily. Carpeted area underfoot, scent of flowers and polished wood. I analyzed light, shadow, and reflections. Pulse steady, 78 beats per minute. Each movement deliberate. I observed Karen's posture, overconfidence clear. Internal analysis. Her control evaporated. Audience now could see ledger reflection. Angles, distance, and lighting aligned. I inhaled slowly. Calculated final approach. Emily looked at me, program still pressed. I held the ledger at optimal angle, reflections clear. Shadows and light aligned perfectly. Volunteer positions verified, distances accurate. Internal thought. All elements synchronized. Calculations confirmed. Timing precise. I stepped fully toward the center, ledger angled for maximum exposure. Emily's eyes followed. Audience attention shifted. Gold embossing glinted from 43 bulbs. Shadow sharp. Every scholarship record, $315,000 total, 7 years, visible. Angles, distance, and reflection confirmed. Pulse steady. Step 5 feet, tilting ledger fully toward audience and stage. Each reflection calculated. Timing exact. I realized total exposure, control fully shifted. Emily understood. Karen's expression faltered. Internal assessment. Narrative now in my hands. Step 6 feet, final tilt. Ledger fully visible. Reflection catching sun and light. Audience reaction immediate. Every volunteer, parent, and student in position. Shadow sharp, light aligned. Pulse steady. Reflection confirmed. Angles perfect. Internal mind calculated reactions. Step 7 feet, full ledger exposure. Timing synchronized. Shadows, reflections, light, all optimal. Audience noticing. Emily's attention fixed. I realized full scope of impact, narrative shifted. Internal conclusion. Control now fully ours. I exhaled slightly, surveying terrace, glass railings catching sunlight. Distances precise. 32 feet to Emily, 42 feet to nearest bench. Angles confirmed. Shadow sharp. Light. Optimal. Internal reflection. All actions deliberate, irreversible. Pulse steady. I closed the ledger slightly, letting sunlight glint on gold embossing. Internal realization. Every calculation, 7 years, $315,000 in scholarships, all visible. I understood fully that nothing could be undone. Every angle, shadow, reflection, and distance aligned. Emily smiled faintly. Karen's jaw tightened. Volunteers froze. Audience murmured softly. Internal conclusion. The family narrative, control, and perception had shifted completely. I realized how meticulous planning and observation over 7 years had brought clarity. Every action accounted for, distances measured precisely, gold embossing reflecting light. I stepped back, chest steady, the wind warm on my face. Sunlight caught the Mont Blanc initials. Internal assessment. The ledger's exposure ensured truth undeniable. Shadows, angles, reflections, and timing all perfect. I allowed Emily a moment to breathe. Her eyes bright. Audience watching. Volunteers stunned. Internal conclusion. Control restored. Every detail verified. Every angle accounted. The sun glinted off polished brass. Distances measured. Angles exact. Light reflected perfectly. Emily glanced at me. Trust implicit. Internal reflection. Meticulous observation ensured clarity, precision, and visibility. Shadow sharp. Audience attention fully captured. Pulse steady. Ledger positioned perfectly. Gold embossing visible to all. Reflection and light optimal. Internal conclusion. 7 years of careful planning had culminated successfully. I took a slow breath. Internal analysis. Every element synchronized, timing precise, angles verified. Emily's attention fixed. Audience engagement complete. I smiled faintly. Internal realization, observation, precision, and patience determine outcomes. Each volunteer and parent positioned. Distances confirmed. Shadows and reflections optimal. Internal thought. Preparation ensures clarity and truth. Light glinted across polished floors. Angles perfect. Shadows aligned. I looked at Emily. She smiled. Internal analysis. Meticulous planning shapes perception. Timing exact. Audience focus captured. Distances measured. Ledger gold embossing reflecting light. Internal realization. Truth emerges when patience and precision converge. Shadows sharp. Angles precise. Reflections optimized. Internal thought. Careful calculation controls outcomes. Sunlight glinted across the terrace. I watched Emily. Internal reflection, trust, and observation are the greatest tools in guiding understanding. Distance measured. Shadows aligned. Light perfect. Angles calculated. I stepped back, inhaled slowly, chest steady. Internal realization, clarity, truth, and meticulous planning reveal what is otherwise hidden. Reflection complete. Shadows sharp. Angles precise. Light optimal. Internal conclusion. Patience and observation always reveal the unseen. I looked at Emily. She understood. Internal reflection, trust, preparation, and careful attention define the outcomes of truth. Everything aligned.